Hello guys, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we will be concentrating on Taylor series. Uh, Hope in the previous lecture we have seen the introduction to Taylor series, and also we saw one way of writing recursive solution to Taylor series. And in this video, what we are going to see is we are going to see the optimized way of doing Taylor series. We are going to reduce the time complexity that we have seen in the previous lecture. So two optimized methods are there, and in this lecture we will be concentrating on one optimized method. So method one we will be seeing. Okay. So before starting to see, let us have a small summary of what happened in the previous lecture. We started with Taylor series. E power x is equal to, we wrote the expansion. That using the expansion we come to know that we need three things to know. One is summation, because you are adding all the terms, so summation. Power, because x square, x cube, x power 4, so you are finding powers also, you are using power system also. So we have already completed summation, we have already completed power function, so I'm writing the same formula again. Then also we have to find a factorial also, so factorial also already we have seen the formula, so I am writing this formula. Now in order to formalize the expansion of Taylor series, we took an example and we come to a conclusion that this can be formalized like E of x comma n is equal to E of x comma n minus 1 plus power of x comma n divided by factorial of n. This is a general formula that we got. Then after getting the formula, what we did, we draw a diagram, we draw a tree for by taking x is equal to 2 and n is equal to 4. So e of 2 comma 4 is expanded to e of 2 comma 3 plus power of 2 comma 4 divided by factorial of 4. Then e of 2 comma 3 is splitted into e of 2 comma 2 and power of 2 comma 3 divided by factorial of 3. Then e of 2 comma 2 is divided into e of 2 comma 1 and power of 2 comma 2 divided by factorial of 2. Then e of 2 comma 1 is divided into is splitted into e of 2 comma 0 and power of 2 comma 1 divided by factorial of 1. So these this tree structure we have already seen. Okay, so if you want more details about this, you can go to previous lecture and you can see more about this. So and also we have implemented that, and after implementing we have implemented using power function and factorial function. We wrote a exponential function here, exponential function. After writing an exponential function, we wrote a recurrence relation and we solved that recurrence relation and we got the time complexity as order of n square. Now before starting the optimized way, first of all, we need to understand the main reason for this time complexity. First of all, main reason for this time complexity for the previous solution, for the existing solution that we have already seen. Okay. Okay. So to make you understand the reason for the time complexity, we are going to take an example. For example, we will be taking e of 2 comma 4. uh, or we'll be taking x comma 4, generally x comma 4. What is the expansion of e of x comma 4? It is equal to 1 plus x divided by x divided by 1. So 1 plus x divided by 1, fine. Next plus x square. X square means x multiplied by x. X multiplied by x, then it is divided by 2 factorial 2 factorial. What is 2 factorial? 2 multiplied by 1. So this is going to be 2 multiplied by 1. Okay, fine. So 1 plus x divided by 1 plus x square divided by 2 factorial, then plus x cube. So x multiplied by x multiplied by x uh, divided by 3 factorial. What is 3 factorial? 3 factorial is 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. Okay, still one more term is pending, which is x power 4 divided by 4 factorial, which is the last term. So this is plus x power 4. So x multiplied by x multiplied by x multiplied by x power 4. Then it is divided by 4 factorial. Is divided by 4 factorial. What is 4 factorial? 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So I have given you the detailed expansion of a Taylor series. I have given you the detailed expansion of Taylor series. Now look at this Taylor series. How much multiplication you have, because that multiplication is responsible for the n square time complexity. I will let you know about that. Okay, how I'm saying that multiplication is responsible for the n square time complexity. All those reasons I will just prove now. Okay, so if you see here in this term, we will take term by term. So in this term, there are no multiplication taking place. So what we are going to do is, in the term 1, there are no multiplication. So 0 multiplication, plus in this term x divided by 1, there is no multiplication, 0, plus in this x square divided by 2 factorial of 2, you can able to see that 2 multiplications are taking place. So 2 multiplication, fine, plus in x cube divided by factorial of 3, if you see totally 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, totally 4 multiplication. So in this term 4 multiplication taking place, so plus 4, plus in this term, if you see in this term, uh, x multiplied by 1 2 3 4 5 6, totally 6 multiplications are taking place, 6. Okay, so now let us make a total of it. Okay, so we can just rewrite this. I am going to rewrite this into 2 plus 4 plus 6. So we can able to clearly see that there is a pattern, that 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12 plus 14 plus 16, and it goes on. For e of x comma 4, it is stopping at 6 multiplication. If it is x comma 5, then 8 multiplication. X comma 6, 10 multiplication. X comma 7, 12 multiplication, keeps on going. So how we are going to solve this? We will be taking a term called 2 common outside. We are going to take the term 2 common outside. So if we take the term 2 common outside, then 2 of 1 plus 2 plus 3. So when you take 2 from this term called 2, then only you will be having remaining 1. When you take 2 from 4, remaining 2 will be there. 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4. When you take 2 common outside from 6, remaining part will be 3. So 3 multiplied by 2 will be 6. Okay, what is this 1 plus 2 plus 3? Is it like sum of natural numbers? Yes, this is sum of natural numbers. Up to what? Up to n minus 1. If n is 4, then it is coming up to 3. If n is 5, then it will come up to 4. So you can say that up to n minus 1, you have to find the sum of natural numbers. Already we have the formula. Already we have a formula. What is the formula? General formula I will tell you. N multiplied by n plus 1 divided by 2 is the sum of natural number formula, which I have already taught you in the first problem, the summation problem. Okay, sum of natural number problem. Okay, so now, but here if it is n, the formula is n into n plus 1 divided by 2. Here the end value is n minus 1, because if your n value is 4, then this is ending at 3. So you can say that n minus 1. So how to rewrite the formula using n minus 1? How we are going to rewrite it? Okay, so n term, instead of n, we are going to take it as n minus 1, and then this is going to be n minus 1 plus 1. So n minus 1, and in this term, if you look at this term, n minus 1 plus 1 means cancel, minus 1 plus 1 cancel, both opposite sign. So this can be rewritten as n multiplied by n minus 1 divided by 2. Okay, both you can also take it approximately, you can take it as n multiplied by n plus 1 divided by 2, but I want to make it very perfect. That is why I'm taking n minus 1 multiplied by n divided by 2. What is the reason? Because we are not finding the sum of natural number up to n, we are finding the sum of natural number up to n minus 1. So if you want to find the sum of natural number up to n minus 1, then this is the formula to find it. What is this? How to simplify this? This n is common to this n, and this 1 is also common to n. So you have to multiply it. So when you multiply it, what will happen? This is converted to n square. Okay, this is converted to n square. Okay, n square. Then it is n square minus n. Because if you see, n multiplied by n is n square, minus 1 multiplied by n is minus n. So n square minus n, the whole divided by 2. The whole divided by 2. Don't remember the outer 2 that we have here in the formula. So this formula is only for 1 plus 2 plus 3. So you have outer 2 here. So you also have to multiply this entire term by 2. When you have to multiply this entire term by 2, you have a division by 2. So multiplication by 2, division by 2 will cancel. So this division by 2 will be cancelled. So the only remaining equation you have is n square minus n. Which is the largest term? N square is the largest term. So now I have proved you that multiplication is responsible for the n square time complexity. So multiplication is what taking more time here in the previous method that we have seen. So multiplication is taking more time in the previous method we have seen. So now in this optimized way, whatever optimized way we are going to introduce, the only main task is going to be how to reduce the number of multiplication that can happen. We are going to reduce the maximum number of multiplication that can occur. How we are going to do? How we are going to reduce the multiplication? Because multiplication is responsible for the n square time complexity. So we need to reduce the time complexity, which means that we have to reduce the number of multiplication. Okay, I'll just show you the tree structure here. In this tree structure, if you see, every time when you find a power, what will happen? Again, each and every time multiplications will be taking place. So when you call power of 2 comma 1, when you call power of 2 comma 1, then a particular so if you see here, when you're calling power of 2 comma 1 divided by factorial of 1, this is this term, which is x divided by 1, where there is no multiplication. Okay, fine. Next, when you are coming to the next one, which is power of 2 comma 2 divided by factorial of 2, here how many multiplication will be there? 2 multiplied by 2 and 2 multiplied by 1. 2 multiplications will be taking place. And here totally 4 multiplication. Here 6 multiplication. So we should not find power and factorial from scratch every time. I think here you are finding power of 2 comma 1. So have the answer of power of 2 comma 1 here. And when you're going here, don't again start from first. You can just multiply 2 from the previous answer. Now you will be having power of 2 comma 2 answer here, with which you can multiply 2 to get the next answer. Here you will be having the power of 2 comma 3 answer, from which you can multiply 2 to get power of 2 comma 4. So you need not to again and again perform the same operation from beginning. You can continue it from where you left. That is what similarly applicable for factorial of 1 also. So factorial of 1 multiplied by 2, you will get factorial of 2. Factorial of 2 multiplied by 3, you will be getting factorial of 3. Factorial of 3 multiplied by 4, you will be getting factorial of 4. So don't start the operation from beginning every time. Just continue the answers. Okay, fine. How to make it continue? Using static variable. Already I have taught you about the usage of static variable already. Already I have explained you the usage of static variable already. We will also see the usage of static variable here also. Okay. So before starting everything, what we are going to do is, instead of, see, first of all, you will be starting with e of 2 comma 4, then you move to e of 2 comma 3, then you move to e of 2 comma 2, you move to e of 2 comma 1, you move to e of 2 comma 0, and finally when your n value is 0, when your finally n value is 0, you have to be returning 1. This is similar to the previous method. Whenever your n value is 0, then the resultant answer you will be getting is, the resultant answer that you will be getting is equal to 1. Fine. Now coming to the other side, here what we are going to do is, instead of calculating, instead of calling the power function, instead of calling the factorial function, we are going to introduce two new variables called p and f, where p is by default initialized to 1 and f is also by default initialized to 1. Okay, fine. So now what we will be doing is, here if you see here, you need to find power of 2 comma 1 and factorial of 1. So what you should be doing is that whatever the present value of x, you should be multiplying that p with x actually. So what I can do is that, what is the present value of x? X is 2. What is the present value of n? The present value of n is 1. Okay, so remember one thing, what is x2? So you have to be keep on multiplying by 2. So when you multiply 1 and 2, you will be getting 2 power 1, which is power of 2 comma 1. See, if you see what is the existing value here, existing value is power of 2 comma 1. Power of 2 comma 1. Just remember one thing. Okay, remember one thing here. Okay, so I'll just tell you one thing. For example, you are having a variable called p, which is initialized to 1, and you are having a variable called f initialized to 1 by default. Okay, by default we are having two variables called p and f, which we are initialized to 1, and f is also initialized to 1. Now what we are going to do is, here in this situation you have to find power of 2 comma 1. What is power of 2 comma 1? 2. So what you have to do, you have to multiply 2 with this p value. Automatically you will be getting the answer 2. So what you can do is, in this place, instead of finding power of 2 comma 1, instead of calling power of 2 comma 1, instead of calling power of 2 comma 1, what you can do, you can write p is equal to p multiplied by 2. Where what is the previous answer of p? P is 1. So 1 multiplied by 2 will be equal to 2. So p value will be equal to 2 now. Okay, fine. Now, how to find factorial of 1? Factorial of 1 means present value of n. What it is present value of n? 1. So that n you should be multiplying with the previous value of f. So instead of calling your factorial function, you can write f is equal to f multiplied by n. What is this 2? This 2 is actually generally called as x. So what you can do is, every time you can do x. So what I will do is, first of all, here p is equal to p multiplied by 2, f is equal to f multiplied by 1, because present value of n is 1. Okay, now what will be the new value of p? My new value of p will be 1 multiplied by 2 equal to 2. Okay, 2, p is equal to 2. And the next one is f is equal to f multiplied by 1. What is the previous value of f? 1. So 1 multiplied by 1 will be equal to 1. So the present value of p is 2 and the present value of f is actually 1. Okay, done. Okay, so now what you have to do? You have to add the answer which is returned by this recursive call, which is 1, and you have to be adding p divided by f. You should be adding p divided by f. Okay, fine. So now what we are going to do is, here in the previous call, if you see here, also what I'm going to do is, I'm going to introduce the two variables called p and f. So let me introduce p and also let me introduce f. What is the previous value of p? 2. So this is 2 power 1, we are getting 2. Here we have to get 2 power 2. So what we can do, already we are having the answer of 2 comma 1. So now what we can do, we can extra multiply it by again 2. So again what you have to do, p is equal to p multiplied by 2. And similarly here you are having factorial of 1 answer. Now you want to calculate factorial of 2, because n value is 2 here. So factorial of 2 you have to calculate. So what you can do, you can multiply the existing factorial answer with 2 to get the factorial of 2. So you can just tell that f is equal to f multiplied by 2. Okay, fine. Now what we are going to see, all the other operation I will tell you later, but we are going to introduce two static variable like p and f here, and we are going to not going to call power function and factorial function again. So we are going to calculate it using this static variable called p and f. Okay, fine. So in this step you want power of 2 comma 1, so you multiplied 1 and 2. Okay, fine. Here you want factorial of 1, so you multiply the existing value with 1. Okay, fine. Here you want power of 2 comma 2. So what is power of 2 comma 2? Already the p value was 2. So if you multiply again by 2, it will become 4. So now what is the present value of p? The present value of p is equal to 4. What is the present value of f? The existing value is 1. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. So the new f value will be equal to, the new f value will be equal to 2. Okay. So this is power of 2 comma 2 and this is factorial of 2. Okay, it's fine, looking fine. Now you want to find power of 2 comma 3. How? Instead of calling power function and instead of calling factorial function, we'll be introducing p equal to p multiplied by 2. What is p equal to p multiplied by 2? Already p value is 4. So 4 multiplied by 2 will be equal to 8. I think power of 2 comma 3 is 8. So instead of calling power of 2 comma 3, you can take the previous p value and you can multiply with 2. You will be getting the present power of 2 comma 2 comma n what you wanted. X comma n what you wanted. Okay. So now we got the power value. So we can just get rid of this power function now. And you want to find factorial of 3. Already you have the answer of factorial of 2. So when you have the answer of factorial of 2, now what you have to do? You have to multiply the present n value, which is 3. So what you can do here is f is equal to f multiplied by 3. Here f is equal to f multiplied by 1. Here f is equal to f multiplied by 2. Here f is equal to f multiplied by 3. But please keep in mind. Okay. So what is f equal to f multiplied by 3? The present value of f is 2. So 2 multiplied by 3 will be equal to 6. So f value is equal to 6. Okay, fine. Now again go to this side. You want to find power of 2 comma 4. Remember, already you have the answer of power of 2 comma 3, which is 8. So now if you want to find power of 2 comma 4, multiply 2 with the existing answer. So what we can do is we can introduce a new variable called p, and which is equal to the existing p value multiplied by 2. Existing p value multiplied by 2. What is the existing p value? It is 8. What is 8 multiplied by 2? It is equal to 16. What is 16? Power of 2 comma 4. So you found the power of 2 comma 4 without calling the power function. Okay, divided by factorial of 4. Already you have the answer of factorial of 3. Now how to find factorial of 4? So you have to multiply the present value of n, which is 4, with the existing factorial value. So 6 multiplied by 4. What will be 6 multiplied by 4? 24. So f is equal to existing f value multiplied the present n value, which is 4. The existing f value is 6. So 6 multiplied by 4 will be equal to 24. Okay. So now can we say this is power of 2 comma 1. This is power of 2 comma 2. This is power of 2 comma 3. This is power of 2 comma 4. Okay. This is factorial of 1, factorial of 2, factorial of 3, and factorial of 4. The same value only we are calculating, but using a different method. Here we are not calling the power function. We are not calling the factorial function. Instead of that, we are introducing two variables called p and f, and we are using p and f. We are calculating all the power values as well as the factorial values. So what we are doing, initially we are taking the p value and f value as 1, and then we started multiplying my p value by 2. What is 2 here? 2 is the value of x. 2 is the value of x. So how we can just shortly write it? So p is equal to p multiplied by x. Okay, so p is equal to p multiplied by x is the general formula that I can give for you. Okay, so I can just maximize this for you. So p is equal to p multiplied by x is the general formula that I can give here, because already the p value is 1. So p multiplied by x, what is it? 2. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. So which is p value here? And then coming here, existing p value is 2. So 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. 8 multiplied by 2 is 16. So we keep on multiplying by the respective x value. Okay. Next, what we will be doing? Coming to factorial, here initial value is 1. So we again multiplied with 1. Then we started multiplying it with 2. Then we multiplied by 3. Then we multiplied it by 4. So what is this 1, 2, 3, 4? They are the values of n. So here the n value is 1. So you multiplied here with 1. Here the n value is 2, so you multiplied your f with 2. Here the n value is 3, so you multiplied your f value with 3. Here your n value is 4, so you multiplied your f value with 4. So how we can write f is equal to f multiplied by n. This is the general formula that I can write for you. So p is equal to p multiplied by x and f is equal to f multiplied by n. So now instead of writing a recursive call like this, we are going to write a new methodology for it, optimized way of doing it. Shall we start doing this? Okay. So first of all, the return type is going to be double. The function is going to be e underscore optimization. Okay, optimization underscore 1. So this is method 1, optimization method 1. So e underscore optimization of 1, and this is going to take two argument called x and n. It is going to take. Okay, fine. So now what is the condition of this new recursive tree that we have drawn? Here also I said that if the n value becomes 0, we have to return 1. So this is like before the previous method only we are following. If n is equal to 0, we are going to return 1. The same methodology. If n is equal to 0, then we have to return 1. Okay, fine. Else So else we have to work on it. What we have to work first of all? First of all, we prefer, see, in the else condition only we have to go with the recursive call. So just we will just look at this tree structure, which one we are doing first, recursive or otherwise the power or factorial calculation. Recursive call only we are doing first. Next only we are doing calculation of power and factorial. That too we are doing it in the descending phase. So this is carried out in the ascending phase. So recursion call is the first primary thing that you should do actually. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, we need two static variable called as p and f. We need two static variable called p and f. So I am just, let me introduce two static variables. So static int p is equal to 1 and f is equal to 1. So initially we are starting our p value and f value with 1 as we planned. Actually we are starting our p value and f value from 1. Okay, fine. Now in the else part, what you have to do, first of all, we have to be recursively calling the same function. Like, what is the function? E underscore optimization underscore 1 in the function, and we are going to call x comma n minus 1 is the recursion call. Am I right or wrong? You can see here x value is same, 2 2 2 2 2, x value is same, but you see the n value is 4 3 2 1, which is reducing by 1 every time. So we are calling e underscore optimization underscore 1 of e comma n minus 1. Okay, recursion call we are doing. So this recursion call will be calling e of 2 comma 3 2 comma 2 2 comma 1 2 comma 0 at some point of time. At some point of time, what will happen? This if condition will be evaluated to true and this will be returning 1. So this, whatever value is returned here, will be sent back to the recursion call here. Okay, so that value called 1 is very important, because that one value have to be added to p divided by f, power of 2 divided by factorial of 1. Okay, power of 2 comma 1 divided by factorial of 1. So we should be dividing both this thing and we should be adding it with the resultant answer. So it is very important to store the answer of the recursion call. It is very important to store the answer of the recursion call which is returned for it. Okay, so now what we have to do is, we are going to introduce a variable called r. Okay, we will be introducing a variable called r, which is not static variable, a normal variable. R we will be introducing, and using that r variable we are going to capture the value which is returned for this recursion call. So whatever the value that is returned for this which is received for this recursive call, like this. See, when you do e of 2 comma 0, automatically 1 is returned. That 1 is received and stored here. So that 1 is received and stored in the variable called r. That value is stored here in r. Okay, fine. Then what is the next thing that we are going to do? First of all, after doing recursion call in the descending phase means after a recursive call, what we need to do? We should do the second substructure, which is p here. So what we are doing here, p is equal to p multiplied by x and f is equal to f multiplied by n. These are the general formula that we are doing for each and every step. So what we can write is here P is equal to P multiplied by X and F is equal to F multiplied by N as we planned actually. Okay. So we are going doing the same process that we have planned for. Okay. Then what has to happen? After finding the P and F value, we will check what we have to do. After finding P and F value, first of all, you have to divide P and F. You have to divide P and F, and whatever the resultant value, that resultant value you have to add it with this recursion call. So the answer of this recursion call is already stored in the variable called R. So what we have to do is we are going to return R. R means the answer of the recursion call, then plus P divided by F. P divided by F. What is P divided by S? This is the P divided by F answer. So every time what we have to do, we have to find P and F, and after finding P and F, we have to divide P and F, and we have to add the value to the recursion call. The recursion call answer is stored here in the R value. Okay, so this is what we are saying. So whatever added value that you are returning, that returned value will again reach your E of 2 comma 1. So the answer of E of 2 comma 1 will be again stored in the variable called R, and then you will be again finding the P and F value, and you will divide it, and you will add both this answer, and you will return the resultant answer to this place. It will be again stored in the R variable, and this keeps on going up to E of 2 comma 4. Okay, so finally what we will be doing is in the main function, let me introduce a new variable called double. Okay, double um, optimize to optimize. Double optimize is equal to E underscore optimization underscore 1 of X comma N we are calling. Now the value of optimize also we have to print. So percentage LF answer we have already printed. Now we have to print optimize. We have to print optimize. Okay, it is not Z, it is S. Okay, fine. Saving this file. And now we will just go for the compilation and also execution to know whether both the methods are providing us the same answer or not. So first of all, we will go for the compilation phase actually. So okay. Okay, here I just gave a space between hyphen and. So this warning already we have seen about this warning, why this warning is being shown. So no issues with this warning. So we'll go for execution. So one is printing 7, the other is printing actually 6. Okay, so where is the issue actually? So what we have done, we will just again once check static int. We have declared P equal to 1, F equal to 1. Then we declared R. Then we are checking whether n value is equal to 0. If it is so, then we are returning the value 1. Okay. Yes, dividing here. See, while you're dividing this P and F, either one of the answer have to be double, then only you can get the remaining answer into double. Suppose if both are integer, then the resultant answer also will be the integer. So I'm typecasting the data type of P into double from integer. Okay, so now after typecasting this, we will just go and check whether this is now working or not. Okay, so it is giving me 7 and 6.6777. Okay, so is there anything else? Is there anywhere we left it? I think R we are taking it as integer. So R value only finally we are adding it together, right? So let us try to take it as a double actually finally. So we'll just try to take it as a double, and okay, fine. So R is also double. Then here between P and F, we have converted P into double, and now we are making the calculation. So now everything have to be in the same perfect place. Yes. Okay. See why the reason is that because when your R value is an integer, then when you're adding the decimal points which you're getting there will be some conflict there, because when you want to get a exact double answer, then all the variables involved inside have to be double. That is the one reason why we are typecasting P into double. Okay, so after changing R into double, we are getting the right answer. So both the methods are providing the same answer. Okay, both the methods are producing the same answer. Okay, fine. So now what we have to do is we have to find the time complexity of the new method that we have found. Okay, so we know that x value is not changing. So this can be generally taken, this can be generally taken as t of n. This function can be generally taken as t of n. And declaring two variable like this will be taking 2 unit of time, 2 unit of time, and one variable here also with this will also be taking 1 unit of time. Okay, checking this if condition will be taking 1 unit of time. We know very well either the body part of if or the body part of else will be working. So we will just calculate the time complexity of else because it is larger than the if body. So what this is called as, if e underscore optimization underscore 1 of x comma n is called as t of n, then this can be called as n minus 1, t of n minus 1. So this is generally called as t of n minus 1. Okay, then what is this called as? Only single multiplication. So single multiplication means this is 1 unit of time, 1 unit, 1 unit. Okay, so here one more multiplication is taking place, so only 1 unit, 1 unit. Coming here, addition, typecasting, division, addition, typecasting, division, 3 operations. So 3 unit of time will be taken, 3 unit of time. So altogether if you write Tn is equal to T of n minus 1 plus 2 plus 1 3 plus 1 4, 4 plus 2 6, 6 plus 3 9, so plus 9. Already I have told you, whenever you get a recurrence relation and if there is a constant term, then that constant term can be converted to, okay, that constant term can be converted to 1 for the better. So you can be able to solve it. Okay, so whenever you have a constant value, convert it to 1 and then start solving it. Hope you have already seen this kind of recurrence relation already. So I will again show you the method of substituting it. First of all, we have to find the value of t of n minus 1. What is the value of t of n minus 1? It is equal to t of n minus 2 plus 2 plus 1. Okay, so when t of n is equal to t of n minus 1 plus 1, then t of n minus 1 is equal to t of n minus 2 plus 1. Okay, okay, fine. So now we have to substitute the value of t of n minus 1 in this equation. Okay, so this is the next process that we are going to do. Okay, so we'll take this equation and instead of t of n minus 1, we will start substituting this value that we have found now. Okay, now what will happen? 1 plus 1 will become 2. So t of n is equal to t of n minus 2 plus 2 after the second step. So in first step, t of n is equal to t of n minus 1 plus 1. In the next second step, it is t of n minus 2 plus 2. And now we are going to find the third step. How to find it? We have to find the value of t of n minus 2. So what is t of n minus 2 is equal to? T of n minus 2 is equal to t of n minus 3 plus 3. Sorry, plus 1. According to the formula, it's a constant value, so plus 1. Now we have to substitute the value of t of n minus 2 in this equation. So which we are going to do now. So in this equation, we'll be substituting the value of t of n minus 2, which is t of n minus 3 plus 1. So 1 plus 2, which is going to be equal to 3. Okay, fine. So now when t of n is equal to t of n minus 3 plus 3, so in the first step it is t of n minus 1 plus 1. In the second step it is t of n minus 2 plus 2. In the third step it is t of n minus 3 plus 3. So if this keeps on going, in kth step, we will be generalizing this pattern. So t of n is equal to, in the kth, in the first step 1 and 1. In the second step, this term is 2, this term is also 2. In the third step, this is 3, this is also 3. So in the kth step, this will be equal to n minus k plus k. Okay, what is the stopping condition? You can go to the recursion and you can see the stopping condition is 0. So you can just stop it whenever your t of 0, okay, whenever your n value is 0. So t of 0 is equal to 1 is a stopping condition. So when it will reach t of 0, when this entire term becomes 0, then it will reach t of 0. So what you can say is here, n minus k is equal to 0. When n minus k is equal to 0, in other terms you can say that n is equal to k. N is equal to k. So start substituting n instead of k here. So when you start substituting n instead of k, this equation will become t of n. So t of n is equal to t of n minus n plus n. So what is this called as t of 0? What is t of 0? T of 0 is 1. So the final equation is n plus 1, which is the largest term, n. So when n is the largest term, the time complexity can be taken as order of n. Hope you now understand the previous method time complexity is order of n square. The present method time complexity is order of n, which means clearly the new method is efficient than the previous method. So what we will be preferring is we have to reduce the multiplication is what the main strategy is. We have to reduce the number of multiplication. How to reduce the number of multiplication? Each and every time you should not be calling the power function and factorial function. That is each and every time when you're calling your power function factorial function, that is what responsible for the extra multiplication taking place. In order to reduce the extra multiplication which is taking place, what we done is we took two static variable called p and f, and we started both the values from 1 and 1, and we started doing p equal to p multiplied by x to get 2 4 8 16, and we did f is equal to f multiplied by n to get 1 2 6 24, which is factorial of 1, factorial of 2, factorial of 3, factorial of 4. Okay, so by doing this, what happened actually, how many multiplication taking place here? One multiplication, p equal to p multiplied by x, f equal to f multiplied 2. Here 2 multiplication, here 2 multiplication, here 2. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, totally 8 multiplication only is taking place. Only 8 multiplication is only taking place. If you see here, how many multiplication taking place? 10 plus 2, 12. 12 multiplications is happening, but we are reducing it to 8 multiplication. So that is what responsible for the reducing time complexity from order of n square to order of n. Okay, so you should understand this very well. So hope you understand the optimization method one. We will be also seeing one more optimization method in the next lecture. Okay, so keep watching all the series. Okay, keep seeing the entire advanced series. It will be really very helpful for you. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you.